Okay, here we go. Hi everyone, happy Monday. Sorry, my voice sounds a little crackly today. I'm getting over something, but I feel better than I sound. Um, and so this week on our community call, we're going to talk all about creatine. It's something that's kind of without question, I'll start working with a new one-on-one client, and usually within the first couple of weeks, I get the question, should I be taking creatine? And I don't know about you guys, but kind of in my area of the social internet world, it's been a really big topic. I feel like I see all kinds of things, all kinds of new products, new information about creatine. So I thought it might be a good idea to do a call on that and just kind of set some basic understanding of like what it is, how it affects our bodies, how to take it, right? And like what the heck is going on with this creatine? Is it everything that everyone builds it up to be? All right. So I am going to, let's see if I can share here. All right. Henrietta, can you see my screen?
It's just black.
It's just black.
And it says, yeah, Kacey Miller started screen sharing, but it's
Okay, let me try this again.
Yeah, same for me. It looked like it was trying to load, but then
I was gonna
didn't
say it
quite get
always
there.
takes a sec.
I know. Okay. Well, I've got it chosen. And
It looks like it's
anything?
trying. It looks like it's trying.
Is
Still
it
yeah.
having a
black.
case of the Mondays?
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't load, I can still chat. You guys will just have to look at my face instead of the email that went out. Let's do that. So not everyone's just sitting there waiting. Okay. So, okay, creatine. My first interaction with creatine was, gosh, maybe like 8 or 10 years ago. And I remember I was working in a gym at the time, and I was just like starting to kind of get into all the nutrition, and I've never been a big supplement person. Like a lot of us coaches, I'm like big on lifestyle measures to help improve things before supplementation, but there are some supplements that I'm like, yes, more than likely everybody should be taking this. One of them is magnesium, which we've talked about before. Another one is creatine. All right. And that's kind of like a big 1, 2 for me. Fish oil can be put in there as well if it's high quality. But creatine is a big one. I there is almost kind of not like a big population that I don't think would really benefit from taking it. Like men, women, like I can't recommend it for children because there's not a lot of research out there on that. But women that are, invested in performance, but then also women that are just trying to build or hang on to a little bit of muscle, which is majority of us, even going into women in their kind of pre menopausal era and through menopause for sure. Um, Quick plug, if you guys haven't listened to the like menopause masterclass that Michaela and Marissa did, it's excellent. And creatine's talked about a little bit in there, but that will kind of give you more of a just like foundation for why creatine might be really helpful during menopause. So I'm not going to totally go into that direction today. But anyways, my first interaction with creatine, I remember I was working at a big gym, and one of the kind of head coaches there was like a really big rugby player, like really big built guy. And I remember being like, what is this creatine stuff, right? Because in my head, it sounded like a steroid, right? Or like, HGH, something like that. And he just kind of laughed at me and he was like, no, like I take it, it's legit. You should look into it. So that's what kind of like spurred my interest. I started taking it after doing a little bit of research. And some of my experiences with creatine, which are the top two benefits that you'll hear, is around power output when you're working out, both strength and endurance, by the way, not just strength exercises. And then also you'll hear a lot about mental clarity. And most of our kind of community were kind of in the general range of kind of middle life, anywhere from like, you know, the 30s through 60s, right? Where maybe we're noticing we weren't as sharp as we used to be. I know that's definitely me. Once I had kids, I just was like, oh, I'm not remembering things as clearly. Whereas like my 7-year-old now can be like, hey mom, 3 Wednesdays ago at 3:02 p.m. you told me XYZ, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be sharp like that, and some of that has waned. And I have seen some benefit from creatine. There is some research on the mental capacity, but let's talk a little bit about what it does to us physically. All right. Creatine it can be found in a powder form. The most popular methods are a powder form or in like a gummy form. I personally take the powder. I find it super convenient, easy. It's cheaper than a gummy form. I will take gummies when I'm like traveling, just for like convenience and ease. And creatine is something that needs to be taken every single day, whether you are working out or having a rest day. It's something that needs to be consistently taken so that it can saturate our blood system and help create more ATP within our body. All right. So if you guys can kind of flash back to high school biology, if you took it there, you might remember, so ATP is the body's like usable form of energy, right? It's on a cellular basis, right? So your body takes all of its inputs, definitely food, calories, but also things like sunlight. And then it creates ATP on a cellular level. And when that ATP is broken apart, it's how we get energy to do the things that we do, whether that is walking, taking care of children, playing in an adult kickball league, right? Pickleball. It's if you're running a marathon or just trying to put on some muscle or get stronger, your body is using ATP all day, every day. And so while creatine helps to create more of that ATP, it's not anything that is going to be crazy drastic. Like you're not going to wake up one morning and all of a sudden you're Hulk, right? Creatine itself is not going to make you big and bulky. But what it can do is help you increase load, volume, maybe just incrementally over time, so that you are getting more benefits out of your workouts. Specifically, when I started taking it, I realized like if I was doing a dumbbell overhead press, that maybe I could squeak out an extra rep or two at the same weight that I was using before. And that eventually that helped me to go up in weight. So it was a little bit of an added boost. Something else I noticed specifically is that I have a Peloton bike at home and I would take classes. And I would notice after starting taking creatine on a regular basis, that I felt more powerful. And that, like, if you were, for a lot of people, I know you've been on a Peloton before, um, I found myself being able to do like a higher resistance and being able to push harder for a longer period of time. So strength, yes, but also I think that that's probably got some endurance benefits as well. All right. So creatine, like pretty well-rounded, again, on the mental aspect and also on the physical aspect. So creatine needs to be taken daily. Old school methods were, and we're talking like 15, 20 years ago, Old school methods were that there needed to be a loading phase for creatine. In which case you would take like large dosages right when you started, and then it would start to kind of taper off into more of a daily maintenance dose. And that is no longer recommended. It's just not necessary. So if you're looking into creatine, or if you have a friend or somebody at a supplement shop is telling you, hey, you've gotta go through this loading phase, excuse me, just know that that's really not the case. There are really no advantages to loading. It's not going to work any quicker or feel the results any faster. In fact, um, scale feel and still here. Um, um,
Is it just me or did we lose Kacey?
No, we must have
I-
lost her.
I
It
think
was
we
my-
lost her. She was breaking up for a while and now I don't even see her.
Okay, well, hopefully she'll come back. But just talking. Can you guys hear
wait,
me?
I'm back.
Oh,
Michaela,
there
can
you
you
are.
hear me?
Yes. Okay, we can hear you.
I thought it was
Okay,
my
where
wife.
did I lose you guys? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You were
Great.
talking about the loading
Now.
phase not being necessary.
Okay, so it's not necessary. The recommended
Oh, you're frozen, Kacey.
thing more than that. Oh,
There we go. I think I have you.
your workout on a rest day. For me personally, it's a habit stack for me to make sure I take it every day. So it goes in my coffee in the morning because I will never forget to drink my coffee, right? It is vital. I have a tub of powder. It sits right next to my coffee machine. I see my, and depending on kind of what brand, some people say they can taste it, some people can't. Um, I know that Autumn, one of our coaches, she's on break this week, but I know that she unusually she will just take the powder and put it in her mouth and takes water and washes it down. Which, like, if that works for you guys, you can do that as well. So you don't have to be picky on how you take it. It's just some consistency that really matters. All right. I have noticed before like breaks in taking it, and I don't know if the other coaches have recognized this or not. 3 days, I won't really notice it. But if I go on vacation for a week and I don't take the creatine, and then I come back and start back to my workouts, I definitely notice that I just overall I don't feel quite as powerful. So just a little bit of like personal experience testing kind of going on and off of creatine.
Yeah, I would say I feel that even more for me is cognitively, like just a
Mhm.
little bit more brain fog when I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
I must say that I
Um,
don't really feel any difference. I'm not sure
yeah.
if it's me just not being connected, but yeah, I don't feel it much, but I take it every day because just I know the benefits, but I can't say that I feel it a lot. So if anyone recognizes themselves in that, I'm also here.
Yeah, yeah. You can actually get creatine through your dietary intake, mostly red meat. But the fallback from that is obviously if you don't eat red meat, you're a vegetarian or only a pescatarian, you only eat poultry. The other kind of fallback or drawback from that is that you have to eat a lot of red meat to get the daily amount of creatine that can be beneficial for kind of all of these reasons that I'm talking about. So that is why most people do supplement. And again, especially if you are someone who eats less meat, if you're vegan or vegetarian. A couple of things that you might notice or hear about when you start researching creatine or asking your friends if they take it, is that there are a few terms that come up. One is creatine monohydrate. And this just refers to what's the word I'm looking for here? The kind, it's usually in a powder, and it refers to how easily the body is going to or can absorb creatine. So while it is not absolutely necessary that you have a creatine monohydrate, it can help with absorption a little bit faster. And when it is absorbed faster, sometimes there can be like less gut side effects. I haven't heard of too many of my clients having side effects, but it's always the possibility. The other thing that you might hear of when it comes to creatine is the word creepsure. And creepsure is also a specific form of creatine. It actually comes from Europe. I think it comes from Germany. It's like a type of creatine, and it's known to be like the most pure form. One of the cool things about creatine is that, some supplements, you need to make sure you have absolutely like the highest quality, and that usually comes with an expense, right? Like it really pays off for it to be as clean as possible in terms of any additional ingredients. With creatine, it's actually not as big of a deal. Some of the cheaper versions of creatine are just as effective as some of the more expensive types. So I would say, ask a coach what kind of brand they take or what they prefer. Or if you know somebody who takes it and they feel like the benefits are there for them. But Creepsure, if you do care about absolutely having the finest quality, then absolutely find a creatine that has Creepsure, it's made by Creepsure. But otherwise, it's not kind of like an end all. But do be aware, because a lot of times people will be like, well, what does monohydrate mean? Or what is Creepsure? So those are kind of some things to think about. All right. Um, when you start taking creatine, it is important to stay hydrated. I mean, just like you would if you aren't taking creatine. But if
Kacey,
you, yeah.
I was just going to add, micronized is another word that
Oh,
you'll see.
yep.
And that just means it's basically like ground up into finer particles that are going to be better for absorption. So if you're
Yeah,
noticing that
that's
you're like
helpful with absorption. Yeah.
bloating or anything like that, those are kind of the two keywords I look for is, well, three, I guess, micronized creatine monohydrate, and then that
Mhm.
Creapure, in the title or in the description just knows, like sourcing wise, it's just the best quality. And then beyond that, like flavor or additives or anything, like I think a lot of brands will market their creatine like it's special, and you just don't need that with creatine. So yep, just
Yeah.
unflavored creatine monohydrate, micronized creatine monohydrate is what I would look for,
Mhm.
but might not even be necessary.
And I'm happy to, after this call, to kind of post links to a couple of different brands that I use that I trust. And maybe if I know a lot of us coaches actually use the same, but there's not like one out there you have to use. But again, I'll put some out there so that you know that it's kind of a trusted product. So making sure that you're staying hydrated, all right, while you are taking creatine is really helpful. And I would say anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks, you should start seeing the full benefits. With any supplements, some people might feel it earlier. Some people might take longer. You know, I have heard of a little bit of like a placebo effect with creatine, and that people feel like start to feel it very quickly after they start to take it. And my take on that is like, hey, if you feel stronger, you feel like it's effective, awesome, run with it. All right. So again, it's just like a really helpful supplement in general for, I would say mostly like a mass population. It doesn't have to be super specific for someone who is trying to compete in a bodybuilding show or a weightlifting competition. Especially as, you know, the large population of us age and get older, we're going to be fighting that our body's natural tendency to lose muscle mass. That's just a fact of getting older. It's why a lot of us preach resistance training, strength training, eating a diet that's higher in protein. And creatine is one of those things. Although it's a small impact, it can be beneficial to help prevent some of that muscle loss over time and to help keep our ligaments and our bones as strong as they can be when we're going through different phases of life. Does anybody else have any like general questions on creatine? Anything that I haven't covered?
Do you want to talk about bloating or not bloating? Sorry, like water retention? I know that's
Yeah,
a big concern for a lot of
that is
women when they first
probably
start.
yeah, the biggest concern that I hear about when a client says, you know, or I recommend creatine, they're like, yeah, but what about like I hear about the weight gain, right? Because I get it. Like not only does the scale go up, but like no one wants to feel bloated and that extra water and retention, right? Um, I personally didn't experience it. I have not had clients that have when they've taken the proper dosage that have experienced that before. It is really associated with a loading phase of creatine. So again, taking a dosage on a daily basis more than 5 grams. So often I will ask clients to, hey, let's start with a 2 to 3 gram a day dosage. If you're concerned. If not, go ahead and start with a 5 gram. And then start to build up that dosage to 5 grams. I would say anywhere over the course of, you know, a couple of weeks. And keep everything else the same, right? So don't necessarily introduce any new intense workouts or traveling, other things that can cause inflammation and water retention. And let's do a little bit of trial with your body. Let's see how you respond. And again, I may have had one client, but the vast majority of my clients do not see any sort of kind of water bloating, water retention. It really is kind of associated with that heavy dosing phase. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Michaela?
No, I think it's just helpful too to remember that, like, if you are experiencing a little bit of a scale increase or like feeling a little puffy, that your cells are pulling in more water, which is a good thing. And that usually, like, your body acclimates to that after a couple weeks. So just like all things, be patient.
Yes. Yes, right. Just like we preach, you know, consistency with intake and with our training program. I mean, the same thing with supplements in general, right? You've got to give it time to actually see the effects. I usually recommend like if you're gonna start taking supplements, start with one at a time. Um, because if you take a bunch of things at once, like you don't really know what you're feeling, what's having a positive or negative effect. So it's hard to kind of like parse out some of those benefits and also like some of the disadvantages, the negative side effects of supplements.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have questions in general, whether it has to do with, you know, what exactly is creatine? Why is it so popular? Should I start it? Usually the resounding answer is yes, you should start it. And you know what? If you try it and it's not for you, then that's okay too. But the again, the benefits strongly, and the research behind it strongly outweigh any of the possible kind of negative side effects that you may have heard about. Does anyone have any questions for today? If
If
not,
I was
oh,
gonna say,
go
if any
ahead.
come up, ask them in the group. We're happy to answer.
Or you guys can post them on the community group as well. My biggest kind of goal in our community call today is because there's so much out there right now about creatine. It's, in my eyes, it's not a fad or a trend. I think it's something that is gaining a lot of popularity and a lot of chatter. But it's not something in my mind that is kind of here today, gone tomorrow. Again, it's something that I think if you were, researching and learning a lot about fitness and nutrition years ago, you definitely would have come across creatine. And I just think that there's more narrative today, especially on social media, about women's health and menopause in general. Again, maybe it's just me, but in my social media world, it's like it's everywhere. And so naturally creatine comes up because it is a way to help prevent some of the negative side effects of aging and getting into the menopausal world. So I again, my goal is just to kind of set some basic facts about what creatine is, what it isn't, and that yes, it is safe to try. And if you have questions on it, you can always ask your coach if you're doing one-on-one training, or feel free to ask our community groups in the app as well. No such thing as a silly question around here. All right, guys. Well, if there are no other questions, I will post kind of the brands that I use in the chat group. And if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to reach out. But otherwise, happy Monday, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks, Casey. Have a good
Yeah.
one.
See ya.